You love it, man.
I love it here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Worky Wednesdays. I'm your host, Jesse, and I'm here with my main man, Blaine. And anybody that knows us out there, my entire family are absolute, complete animal lovers. My wife tries to save every single animal she sees out in the wild. Blaine and his family, my parents, we all grew up with animals, and which makes me super excited and just honored to have our next guest here with us today, Hal Warner. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
It is an honor to have you here with us today, man. Thank you so much for making the time. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
And it's getting a little cool out there, too, isn't it?
Yeah, the leaves are starting to fall, so it's getting ready for winter.
Yeah. I particularly love this time of the year. I'm sure everybody does, but I'm a big Halloween guy, probably my favorite season of the year. So as soon as you get that, you wake up in the morning and it's below 50 degrees, which I think this morning it was 48.
Yeah.
So it just kind of gives you that feeling. So
it's definitely my favorite time of year in Pennsylvania. This cool in the mornings, cool in the evenings, nice and warm during the day.
Yeah.
It's the best time to be in PA.
Awesome. Which is a great segue into Hal. Give us a little. I know you're an animal lover. We're going to get into that. But give us a little background, Al. Tell us about yourself and where you're from.
Well, I grew up in Alabama, a little town called Auburn. Some people might have heard of it if you're a football fan. I was raised there. Then I moved to North Carolina when I was in high school and spent about 25 years in North Carolina. So I'm a Southern boy. I moved up here in 2006 with the YMCA, and I just love Pennsylvania. I love the Lehigh Valley. I know that a lot of people that have been here for a long time they don't appreciate it as much as I do. But I love all of the nature trails, the outside, all of the things that you can do in the Lehigh Valley. I think it's a great place to live.
Right. I definitely pick up a little bit of your Southern drawl. So you said you were in Alabama till what age, roughly?
About 15.
Okay, so you did all of your basic schooling through Alabama, and what brought you up to North Carolina?
Well, I started working for the YMCA in early 2000 as a wellness director.
Okay.
In charge of the gym area and things like that, the basketball courts. Then I had an opportunity to take a bigger position with the YMCA in Chester County, and moved up in 2006. Became a district executive director, group vice president, and left the Y in 2015.
Interesting. So work is what brought you up to Pennsylvania from North Carolina. Tell us a little bit about your time in North Carolina, what led up. So you were with the YMCA. Where did you live in North Carolina?
I lived in a city called Goldsboro. The YMCA wasn't my first career in Goldsboro, let me put it that way. I had 4 restaurants. I was always deeply involved with the community, lots of community organizations like Kiwanis. I was on the board of directors at the YMCA in Goldsboro. And I just fell in love with the thought of community service, of working with the community to make it a better place, to providing services for the underserved areas of Goldsboro, which there were plenty in North Carolina. And then an opportunity to go to work for the Y came up, and I took it and started selling my businesses and never looked back. I started at the very bottom of the Y. I think my salary, my first day, was $24,000.
Huh.
My CEO actually came in and apologized to me for my salary on the first day and said, "We're going to add $500 to it." So, and to me, it really wasn't about the money. It was about being a part of an organization like the Y that really provided some really essential services to families and the community that needed them, like free swim lessons, summer camp, after school care. Those fundamental aspects of trying to raise a family, and if you're struggling. So
right.
I really just fell in love with that part, and it's followed me ever since. I think one of the things that I love most about the Y is just the basic philosophy of for all. You know, the YMCA believes that everybody is equal.
Right.
And when you walk in that door, it doesn't matter if you're worth $10 million or you're worth $5,000 or just a dollar.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get the same services. You're going to be treated the same. You're going to have the same access to all of the programs. And that's what we work so hard to do in the Y is that, you know, we raise money to provide those resources to families that need them.
Awesome. So, and again, is it safe to say so that because of the YMCA, that's what brought you up to Pennsylvania?
Absolutely. I had an opportunity to join a much bigger YMCA association called the YMCA of Greater Brandywine. Huge branch in Jennersville, little town nobody's ever heard of in southern Chester County. Great YMCA, and I spent 10 years there, and some of the best years of my life and my career were at the Jennersville Y.
Awesome. Now, when you and I first met, we actually met in the gym. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I was introduced to you, and you are affiliated with the Lehigh Valley Humane Society, which is over in the south side of Allentown. As you know, that's where I grew up. I went to elementary school behind there as Dodd Elementary School. Literally walked by the Humane Society. As a child growing up at Little League Sports, Mountainville Little League is right there. That's where I grew up playing sports. That's where I got my first animal, Sasha, my pug. That's the little pug right there behind you, being hugged by Big Charles.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm very familiar with it. Could you tell us a little bit how you got involved with the Lehigh Valley Humane Society?
So I had retired from the Y in 2015 and had taken a bunch of part-time jobs that just trying to figure out what my next step in life was. I met a guy here in Allentown that was the CEO at the rescue mission, and he needed help raising money, and that was something that I did really well with the Y. And I agreed to come on board as his chief development officer. I was there for almost a year, and things just weren't right for me there. It's a good organization, but it just wasn't my deal. That wasn't where my passion was, and so I continued to look for what that next step in life was, and I bumped into a guy by pure chance, and that was on the board at the Humane Society, and they happened to be looking for someone to take the place of their retiring CEO. We hit it off. I updated my resume for him. He and another board member interviewed me, I think, the next week. I signed an offer letter. Because what can be easier, right? I mean, it's puppies and kittens, and fields of flowers, and everybody loves animals, right? It's going to be the easiest job I've ever had, and it turns out it's really hard. Working in animal welfare is a really hard job. It's not only hard physically, but it's really hard emotionally, spiritually. It can fill you up one day and then completely drain you the next. But it's exciting, and there's nothing better than when you have the good days.
Right. And to that, I mean, I follow you on LinkedIn, on other social media platforms, and the amount of work and effort and that you put into the organization and that your team does. You guys are out there. You guys are engaged in the community. I love seeing it. You described that very well. The amount of there's a lot of work involved. Very difficult. Yeah.
It's a lot different than the puppies and kittens and fields of flowers that I envisioned.
Yeah.
I thought that I would be, coasting into my next retirement.
Right.
And it was anything but.
Right. What sparked your love for animals?
I just think, a country boy from Alabama and North Carolina, you grow up loving animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I think I've always, except for a couple of years in my life, I've always had a dog, and it's just the Humane Society is just another evolution in serving the community, right? It's just another evolution in providing services to those people who can't afford it. So what we did, I talked about it for a second, that for all philosophy. We've kind of transferred that philosophy into animal welfare. If you want to have medical services for your animal, if you want to own a cat or a dog, or dog training or grooming, and even if you can't afford what those regular prices are, we're gonna figure out how to do that for you. We're gonna figure out how to support that endeavor for you. So
Awesome.
I think that's resonated with a lot of our donors. A lot of people in the community, have accepted that kind of strange philosophy of, I think a lot of people used to think that if you can't afford the adoption fee for an animal, you don't deserve an animal.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's prevalent still in our communities, but we believe the exact opposite. An animal can enrich your life, and if you have a relationship with pets, then you know how much better your world is because of those animals. And so we want to be able to enrich people's lives by making the avenue towards pet ownership easier and more affordable for people. And a lot of our supporters believe that too.
That's awesome. And you could probably elaborate on that. I mean,
Yeah.
you've been a pet owner your whole life.
Yeah.
You're away in the military. You come home and you definitely get your snuggle time in.
Mm-hmm.
You're very open about that and missing your animals when you leave. I think Al hit the nail on the head as far as the relationship that we have with these animals is irreplaceable.
I think it's beautiful to be able to bring people together through the why, and then to transition over and give people their best friends, right? I don't know, me personally, I absolutely love my dogs, and I've had multiple dogs from the Humane Society. And I think that's just beautiful. That's a moment right there where you're providing people, literally, like I said, they're best friends, She's a beautiful dog right here, and I imagine she's your best friend,
She is. She's not long after I started working at the Humane Society, we rescued her out of a house in Walnutport, and the second that I met her, I called my wife and I said, "There's this dog down here," and my wife was like, "We are not getting another dog." But I said, "I know, but she's something," and so I just started bringing her over to my office every day, and I posted her on Facebook several times, telling my friends, "This is a great dog. You should come get her." And finally, my wife came and met her, and we took her home, and she crawled up on the couch, and she's never left.
And for the viewers, so this is Gabby, like you said. How long have you had Gabby for now?
A little over 7 years now.
Right. So for those of you that don't know, my wife also volunteers at a local animal shelter, and 5 animals later, I literally can't bring in any more animals into the house as much as I want to. People think that I'm a professional dog walker when they see me out there walking all of my dogs, but we're on such a consistent routine. They all have their lane that they walk in, so it's easier for me nowadays to, as part of our routine. But they were all fosters. We fostered dogs for several years, and I've quickly learned that it is very difficult to give them up. When you're in that as a part of that program, there comes a time where, yes, you have to give up the animal if you're fostering, right? It took me a minute to understand how fostering worked, because I started falling for this dog. We had this dog who was deaf, blind, and had no teeth, and he was my buddy. His nose took him all around the house. He was a great dog. And then like 7 or 8 months later, he got adopted. And he ended up going off and living a great life, and he has an amazing story, and he had his own Facebook page and everything. But it was difficult, and we did that several more times, and it really, every time was more a sharper dagger to the heart. So after a house full of animals, I said, you know what? I need to stop doing this for right now. We're going to adopt all of the animals we have in the house right now, and let's just keep them and focus on building our 4-legged family.
That's awesome.
So she still wants to bring animals home, because for anybody out there, if you ever think about if you want to have a pet but you're not entirely sure, do you guys have a foster program?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, check in with the Humane Society or your local animal shelter, and check into their foster program, because that will give you an opportunity, to get to know the animal, to see if it can adapt to your surroundings or your children or your pets, but also to see if you can adapt to having an animal. Sometimes it works, or sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. And if that's the case, then you give somebody else the opportunity to love that animal. So we are foster fails, so we ended up keeping them. But keep that in mind, that those animals in there, they're stuck behind those cages. So if they have an opportunity to get out and go home with you for a couple nights, look into those programs.
It goes without saying that even if you're only fostering an animal for a month or a week, and you bring it back to the shelter. The gift that you've given that animal is a break from the shelter, right? No matter how nice an animal shelter is, and we've built a pretty nice one at Dixon Street, it's still an animal shelter and it's still stressful. There's barking, there's very little time for animals to get, deep sleep. And but if you foster an animal for a day or a week, you've given that animal a break from that exhaustive environment. And like I said, no matter how nice your animal shelter is, it's still not a couch in your house. It's still not your bed. It's not your backyard.
Right.
It's
100%.
And no matter how great your volunteer walkers are, your staff, it's still not a couch with an electric blanket where they can crawl up on, and just relax and truly relax. And our fosters for any animal shelter are so invaluable. They really are.
So Hal, you've talked about us how the Humane Society is engaging with the community and what it does for the community. How has this role specifically impacted you with your staff, meeting the community yourself, and what has changed with the Humane Society since you've been there?
I think being on the south side of Allentown is a unique experience. It's you come into contact with people from all walks of life, all socioeconomic environments, all sorts of people with different needs that you have to address. And I think that's been one of the biggest challenges for us is to find our niche and where we have to provide services for. We have a philosophy that if a program doesn't fit within our mission, then we're just not going to do it. We're not going to do something just for the sake of doing it. It has to fit within how we want to serve the community. And I think that's how it's impacted me the most, is that we have the opportunity at the Humane Society, because I believe in mission-based work so much, is that we can follow that. And there's a philosophy in nonprofits that if there's no money, there's no mission, right? I've always believed that there's no mission, there's no money, meaning that if you're not doing the work first, then you're not going to be able to raise money to support your programs. But a lot of people believe on the other side that you have to raise the money first and then do the program.
Sure.
But I think we have shown at the Humane Society that the exact opposite is true. If you put those programs out first, then it's going to attract people to come to your cause and want to be a part of that. And I think that's been really successful for us down there. And that's probably what's impacted me the most about being down at the Humane Society, is we've been able to try that philosophy and really stick with it.
Mm-hmm. What other services are now being offered down there?
So I'm glad you asked that, because we have something really cool coming down the pike. We've just, a couple of years ago, did a $4 million renovation and expansion, and we built one of the state's first true community veterinary clinics. And we now have 3 veterinarians that work for us. We offer almost all of the services that you can get at a for-profit vet. We do x-rays, dental work, pretty much any surgery that a customer is going to need. And we do it all at affordable prices. So it's high-quality medical care at affordable prices. And even if you can't afford our already low prices, we have a financial assistance program. And every year we award about $200,000 worth of financial assistance for people who need medical services.
Something that you touched on as well, you said volunteer walkers, right, for the dogs. What does it take for can anybody come and walk dogs? What are the qualifications to, come volunteer for you?
You have to be 18 years old and you have to go through a volunteer orientation.
Awesome.
I think, going back to that fields of flowers and puppies, a lot of people think that, that's what it's going to be when they come to walk dogs, but it's really not. A lot of the dogs that we get at the Humane Society are dogs that have been stuck in basements or attics, or have never been on a leash, or never had a great relationship with, a human being. A lot of them are pit bulls or mastiffs or shepherds, dogs that are really strong, and they need a lot of attention, and they need a lot of work with volunteers on just how to be a dog, right?
Right.
And, that's what we have to prep our volunteer dog walkers for.
Awesome.
A lot of them are going to pull your shoulder out.
And roughly, do you recall off the top of your head how many volunteers do you guys have down there?
I think we have a regular base of about 100 dog walkers, and then there's another 100, 150 on the periphery that come in when they can.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
which is another, some tips or advice for anybody out there. Again, if you want to get into the journey of fitness, or you enjoy walking, or you want to build strength in your legs, or you want to lose weight or something along those lines, check in with your local animal shelter, because like Blaine and Hal said, you can certainly get out there and become a volunteer. It seems relatively simple to do that, and then get on a program with walking these animals. It's for me, that's my stress reliever at the end of the day. I love walking my dogs, take all of the work stress off, and for me, that it really helps me out. That's something I really enjoy doing every day, and obviously the dogs love doing it as well.
Yeah, and I always encourage people to volunteer at their local shelter.
Mm-hmm.
If you're out in the Briningsville area, go to the Sanctuary. They're a great organization and walk dogs there. If you're on the other side of Allentown, there's Peaceable Kingdom, and they need dog walkers too.
Yeah.
And I encourage that. The same with your donations. Don't donate to national organizations, because that money never comes back to your local shelters. Mm-hmm. Donate to your local shelters. If you're going to write a check for $10 or $1,000, write it to your local shelter that's serving your community, and keep that money local, and keep the dogs in your area fed and housed, and up to date with their vaccinations, and just keep your services, your volunteer time, and your money, keep it local.
Right. Well said. Great advice. How do you balance the emotional side of animal care with the operational side of running a shelter?
That's a great question, and it's hard. Like I said, there are days it will drain your heart.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a dog that you fall in love with, or a cat, and they might catch parvo or something else, and everybody has an end of life story, and sometimes you're a part of that with animals, and that's a hard thing to be a part of on a I wouldn't say a regular basis, because we're a certified no-kill shelter, but there are times when we have to put animals down for aggression issues or health issues, and that's heartbreaking, especially when you see a dog come in that's been on the loose for a long time or been abused. Those are the hard cases, and it's hard to say goodbye to animals that you've developed a relationship with.
Well, that would lead into my next. That's a great segue into my next question. So, tell us a success story or rescue, a story that's stuck with you over the years.
Oh, we just had one this is great. We had this pug, this French bulldog come in. He was just dropped off at our front door, I believe. Couldn't walk. His back legs didn't work. So our staff went out to the shed and got all this stuff put together, and they built a makeshift wheelchair for him. And we named him Rome, because he couldn't walk, right? So, but we were determined that we were going to save this little Frenchie, and the wheelchair that the staff built was incredible. And we put it on him, and immediately he just took off. He lived in our clinic for probably 6 months. He eventually started getting strength back in his hind legs. And eventually we took the wheelchair off. And he was just, but even when he was in the wheelchair, he's so happy. He's just smiling from ear to ear and hauling tail around the shelter and down the hallway of our clinic. And he was just a great dog, and he's been adopted. And he didn't even take the wheelchair with him. So he said, I'm done with it. And I bring that up because I spent a couple years in a wheelchair when I was a kid. So I empathized a lot with Rome. And he was just a great dog. But we have a lot of really, heartwarming stories, through our vet clinic, where dogs come in and they've been abused, or they have a broken leg, or something else that's wrong with them, and they spend weeks or months in our long-term care facility, and it's so nice to see them be adopted and go home eventually. Because when you first see them, you don't know which way it's going to go. You don't know what the X-rays are going to show, or the ultrasounds are going to show, or even the blood work, right? And when they do get healthy and they go home to an adopter, it's an amazing thing. And I'm sure my family and friends get sick of me telling these stories, but I think Rome is just the latest example.
What a great story
of an animal that came in that at first you go, I don't know if he's going to make it. He can't even walk. So what kind of life is going to have? But our staff they jumped at the chance to do it. So,
and I think that's what if people see an injured animal, unfortunately, some people just want to give up. They don't realize that animals can live long and healthy lives without a limb, right?
Oh yeah,
I see it happen all the time, and I know that's some animals with broken legs or that have some sort of injuries are also animals that get dropped off a lot. Perhaps they feel they can't afford to taking it to the clinic, and I think with you seeming to have an all-in-one type of humane society there, to check in with you guys. I'm sure there's something that you guys can do, or again, all of the animals that you do get that are injured, you do rehabilitate them and get them out there. So that's an amazing story.
Yeah, I think one of the most common things we see, because our vet clinic is still relatively new, and the concept of having a community vet clinic is still really new to Pennsylvania. We see a lot of pyometra cases, which is an infected uterus and can be deadly to female dogs that haven't been spayed. And so a lot of people get into this situation once the uterus becomes infected. They take it to their normal vet, and a pyometra surgery can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000. And so they panic, right? And they don't know what they're going to do, and so they take the dog home. And while they're trying to figure this out, they get into this hysterical state, that they're going to lose their animal. So a lot of times they'll call us and ask us if we can humanely euthanize their animal. And of course, the first question we ask is, why do you want to put this dog down? And some of them might say, because my dog's been diagnosed with pyometra, and we can't afford the surgery. And this is very common for us. And we'll get them in, we'll do an evaluation, and probably 90% of the time with the pyometra, our surgeons can handle that. And instead of charging them, $5,000 to $8,000 for it, we normally do it for around $800. And then even if they can't afford to pay that, we have our assistance program, which we can dig into, and or we can set them up on payments. And
awesome.
It's great to see when they come in with that frantic look on their face. They're going to have to say goodbye to their pet, and then the next day they're coming back to pick it up and taking it home.
What an incredible story!
Just, their demeanor changes 100% when they go through that process.
I can imagine.
And that has to make it all worth it, right?
100%.
When you sit there and you get to have those moments, such as Rome, for example, right? That has to be satisfying, so beautifully satisfying to sit there and have that and witness that. Or like you're talking about right now with the surgeries and whatnot, that's awesome.
That's why, we do what we do. It's not just a shelter down there. It's I don't want to say one-stop shop because it's such a corny phrase, but we can provide a lot of services there that we couldn't before, and it's a really great thing to be a part of. And on top of the clinic, and one of the things that's coming very soon, maybe by the end of next week, is our mobile vaccine clinic. So we bought a 28-passenger Ford 550 bus.
Wow.
And we've ripped it out except for a few seats for our medical staff. But we'll be able to take that into underserved areas in Lehigh, Carbon, Northampton County, and do mobile vaccine clinics for people that wouldn't otherwise be able to either afford the vaccines or get to us to get into our vet clinic. And then by the end of next year, we'll have converted it over completely into a mobile surgery center. So we'll be able to go into underserved areas and do spay neuters, and other types of surgeries for people.
Wow.
Being from the area, Hal, it's incredible to see how the Humane Society has evolved over the years. So I thank you for all of that you have done there, because it's fun watching it grow, and it's fun watching how you and your staff engage with the community. It's night and day how that place has changed since I grew up in the South Side.
It's been a good opportunity for us to reimagine what the Lehigh Valley Humane Society was and could be, right? And when we decided to renovate and build, we had a lot of discussions, the board and I, about where we were going to do it at, right? So we could go out into the county and buy a piece of land and build a building for a lot less than staying on Dixon Street. But after all of those discussions, it really came back to where we were needed the most. and where did we really belong. And we really felt strongly that we belonged on the south side.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And if we left, what a vacuum that would be for Allentown.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were committed to raising whatever it took to build what we wanted. And it just happened so quick. I've been a part of a lot of capital campaign projects in my life with the Y. This one was way too fast. Our heads were spinning the whole time because so many people wanted to be a part of it.
Sure.
And, this idea of a true community vet clinic that could serve the underserved.
Right.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants to be get engaged with a volunteer program or look at animals that are at the Humane Society, they would go to the website. Is that where they can do everything?
They can do everything on our website. They can make appointments for their animals in our clinic.
Mm-hmm.
They can fill out adoption applications. They can sign up to be a volunteer. They can donate. Pretty much anything that you need to do with the Humane Society, except physically being there,
Right.
you can do through our website.
And I'm going to put that website information right here as well. And then also one thing too, Hal, is something that you do that I love to do and love to be involved with is your annual golf outing.
Yeah, it's coming up.
It is coming up.
Next month.
Yes, that is going to be at
Old Homestead.
Old Homestead. And I'll put that information here as well. I work for Residio, so I will certainly put a basket in this year. I'll put it together, first alert, life safety, smokes and carbons, things of that nature. We'll certainly put in something there to donate for the cause. But I love being a part of that, and we always get to see Gabby there as well.
Yeah, she'll be there.
So that's really cool. He does, and I'm sure that's just one of many that he does. He does these.
Yeah.
It's our second biggest fundraiser of the year. Our biggest is our garden gala in the spring, which we do at Petersell over in Coopersburg. Last year, our guest speaker was Carson Cressley, who everybody in Allentown knows, and he did such a great job that we started searching around for our next guest speaker. And I don't know if you guys are Seinfeld fans or not, but are you Seinfeld fans?
Yeah.
The guy who played Elaine's boss,
Mm-hmm.
Jay Peterman,
Mm-hmm.
John O'Hurley, is going to be our guest speaker at the Garden
That's
Gala
awesome.
next year. So we're really excited about having
Yes, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
What a great time. So as you can see that so they do these benefits around the area, and it just gives people an opportunity to get to meet them and get to meet the staff, and then they bring in guest speakers and golf events and things of that nature. So
Awesome.
it loops in the community even more. So awesome to hear. And I'll put all of that information here as well. So, but Al, so you and we actually met at the fitness center.
We did.
And when I first met you, obviously we clicked well. We're both animal lovers, and we got off on a great step. We have a great relationship. And you are one of the most physically fit people. and I say, like, man, the things you were involved in. Was it a triathlon? Like you bike a lot. You do a lot of biking.
I do. I did. I'm going to get back to biking.
Yeah.
Sure.
If you're open to it, I would love to hear that story of what happened to you. One day I showed up at the gym and you were not there.
Yeah.
And it kind of echoed around what had happened. And it's an incredible story, and you overcame adversities. And a month or so later, you were back at the gym. But what exactly happened there, Hal?
Well, I think you're referring to the bike trip up in Boston. A friend and I we biked a lot together, and we wanted to just do some interesting bike rides. We did D.C., we did the boroughs of New York, and then I don't know why, but something made me want to do the Paul Revere Trail up in Boston. And so we decided to do that, and we went up, we spent the night, and we drove down to the Old North Church in downtown Boston, and we were going to follow the backwoods trail of Paul Revere, who was, warning everybody about the British were coming. And so we took off that morning, and I had been experiencing some shortness of breath, maybe some light dizzy spells, and but my doctor had cleared me to go. And we finished the ride and went back to our hotel. I think it was in Concord. And then Peter called me and said, do you want to go bike over to Walden's Pond. I said, sure, let's go. And so we got on our bikes, and we got about a half mile from the hotel. And I got off my bike, and I told Peter I was feeling really dizzy. And I remember, putting my kickstand down, and the next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital. And I thought, well, maybe I just was dehydrated and I passed out. And when the nurse came in after I was probably alone for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And she came in, and I asked her what happened, and she said, you had a cardiac arrest. They shocked you on the sidewalk and brought you back, and then your heart stopped beating again in the ambulance, and we had to shock you and bring you back in the ambulance. And so I was dead a couple of times, and it was just such a strange feeling to know that your heart had stopped and that you were this close to being gone forever. But you were here, like you had another opportunity to do something with your life. Mm-hmm. And it's really, I have a picture of me laying on the sidewalk getting shocked. My buddy took a picture while they were hooking me up to the, I forget the name of the machine, but it was pumping my chest and giving me electrical shocks to keep my heart beating. And it's on my desk at work. It just reminds me that never to take anything for granted, to do what you can while you're still here, to make things better for people, and to live your life. And it's a good reminder, but it really did change how I look at life and how I interact with the world around me.
It does give you, you described it really well. Just to never take advantage of anything that this life has to give us. I mean, it's incredible. And wasn't your buddy has a medical background as well?
He did. He started CPR on me right away. Luckily, a nurse was driving by. She jumped out of her car, took over the compressions. Another lucky stroke was that the EMS team was right across the street.
Jesus.
Having lunch, I think. They came over with the machine to strap me in and start shocking me and get me into the ambulance. And, of course, Lehigh Hospital is one of the best heart hospitals in the country, which was just down the road.
Huh.
So God had everything lined up for me to keep me here.
Right.
So it was I was just blessed that day to have everything I needed to survive and then come back. So.
And from seeing you, so looking at it from the outside in, when I had caught wind, what happened with you? When I say you were one of the most physically fit people, I mean, like you were always on the treadmill and the machines and doing good cardio, and you were there every morning at 0:30 in the morning. You're there every single morning.
4:30.
So I was so shocked to hear this with someone of your fitness level having, an incident occur like that. So, so you had that medical incident, and then how long were you out of the gym for? Because when you walked in the gym, I don't know. I want to say a month, but I could be exaggerating on that.
I think I was probably close to a month before I came back to the gym. But I think I came back home on Sunday because the heart attack happened on a Saturday. I came back home the next night, and we live out in the woods, and it's about, I can tell you, it's 400 steps to our mailbox, and then it's 400 steps back. And Monday morning, I was walking to the mailbox and back, and counting how many times I could get there and back without, losing my breath. And I think after about 2 weeks, I started going back down to the basement and lifting with some 10-pound dumbbells and continuing my walks to the mailbox and back.
Yeah.
And then I think after about a month, I was back in the gym, and I've always been a gym rat. I've always loved going to the gym. I've never been a great athlete, but I've always loved being in the gym, which is why I loved working for the Y for as long as I did. So.
And what does that do for you physically and mentally? And why are you in the gym so early in the morning?
Well, I would go back to when I was 7, and my family and I were vacationing up in New York at our cabin on Lake Sagamdalga. and my left leg started hurting, and then it stopped working. It was the most pain I could even imagine, and my older brother physically drugged me back to the cabin, and my dad flew up from Alabama, took me to a March of Dimes hospital in Pittsburgh, I think it was, and they diagnosed me with a disease called leg perthes, and for 2 years I spent in a wheelchair and a leg brace, and I think that just developed my my drive in everything that I do in life, whether it's physical fitness, whether it's work. I can tell you my dad never let me rest. Like, he made me get in a pool. He made me get out of my wheelchair at my brother's baseball practices and stand at home plate, and he would pitch balls to me. And my dad was never going to let me spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. And so when I got out at 9, physical activity has just been, a way for me to push back every other challenge in my life. And going to the gym is just a part of that process of keep taking care of my body and taking care of my mind. And but I think that's where the drive in my life really comes from. Those 2 years of, I'm not going to sit in a wheelchair for the rest of my life.
Well said. And when I did see you back in the gym after your heart incident, I was so happy to see you, man. And we were so grateful to see you, and it was amazing to see you when you came back. So you've been overcoming adversities your entire life, and that you've already went through so much in a lifetime, way more than what your average person goes through in their entire lifetime. But the story doesn't stop there, does it?
No. I was diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2015, which is well before my heart attack. I did a partial nephrectomy, then radiation, and released from care. I went for a routine checkup with my primary care physician in, I want to say, June of last year. And there was something wrong with my blood work, with my thyroid. So she sent me in for an MRI on my chest and my neck, and they saw a grapefruit-sized tumor on the same kidney. And so I went for more tests, and I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic kidney cancer. It had spread it was not just in my kidney anymore, but it was in my adrenal gland and lymph nodes and in my lungs. And so for the last year, I've been going through a process called immunotherapy, because chemo won't work on this. But the last year has been quite a challenge for us. 5 years ago, I would be dead by now, but because of medical advances, I think we have a good shot at living a normal life.
It's incredible.
I just had surgery, I don't know, a couple months ago now, to remove my right kidney, my adrenal gland, and 7 lymph nodes. So,
and from a statistical standpoint, that's
very 10% chance of living 5 years. So, but I think we're going to beat that. So,
I know you're going to beat it, brother. and it's hard not getting emotional, because
it is.
We hear our community and our friendship. We see you going through this, and then shortly after your surgery, lo and behold, there's Hal in the gym again. And it's like, it's such a great feeling to see you in there, Hal. And it's, you're such an inspiration to myself and to a lot of our friends that we share. And, you're a beautiful person with everything that you do, and then you have a great family and a great support system with the community and your friends and family, and your kids. Tell us about your kids. So are they down south too? And
they're all down south. My oldest is Dylan. He's 35. He's in the security side of IT. My younger son is a musician and artist and truck driver down in Nashville, Tennessee.
Very cool.
And then my daughter is she works in the hospitality industry in Wilmington, North Carolina, and she's going to school to be a school psychologist. And I couldn't be more prouder of my kids, and they're just great. And every time I talk to them, and their life is so wonderful. I think that's the best reward that you can have as an adult is that your children are doing well, right? I mean, you can't.
Well said. Exactly.
You just can't have a greater accomplishment than watching your children do well in life. And now I have a granddaughter. She's just so amazing. She's unafraid of everything except spiders. She'll run after grasshoppers and worms and everything else, but she holds the line at spiders. So she's amazing. So and then I have 3 stepchildren who all are doing great. They're
awesome.
They all live out in California, living their best life, and my wife and I are getting ready to retire, and we're trying to figure out where we're going to do this at. We're looking at South Carolina, and sometimes we flirt with the idea of California.
Interesting. Yeah. Obviously you've been out to California, right?
I've been out a couple of times. I've never spent a lot of time in California. My wife loves it there, but we also love South Carolina, just south of Charleston. So
Yeah.
I think that's in all likelihood we'll probably end up there.
Yeah, got you.
Charleston's beautiful too. I'll say I've been there on my way up from Texas. I spent a couple days there, and phenomenal place to be.
Yeah, you can't beat the food in Charleston.
No.
For sure.
So it's safe to say, Hal, that you have a lot to live for.
I do.
And
I do. I have great animals, and Gabby's one of them. I have Oliver at home, and just like you, we're foster fails. We have, Gabby was a foster. 2 cats were fosters, and we ended up keeping all of them. So
yeah,
so now we have 6 at the house.
Awesome. You've overcome so much in your life already. Not to put you on the spot, Hal, but what advice would you give to somebody that's watching out there that is being faced with challenges in life?
I think the most common advice I give to young people that aren't happy with where they're at in life is to figure out what makes them happy. Figure out where your passion is, right? Because if you're not doing something that you love, or you're passionate about, or that you're good at, I mean, what's life about? Because you spend the majority of your life working, right? So find something that's gonna like energize you and light up your soul, and whatever it takes, do it. When I fell in love with the why, it wasn't about money. I was willing to take a job as the locker room attendant, or as the person who scrubbed the floors in the hallways. I just wanted to be a part of this organization because I loved it so much. I say the same thing to people who want to get involved in animal welfare, and they look at the jobs and they see how much they pay. It's you have to be able to say it's not about the money. It's about what's going to drive me. Because if you're doing something that you're passionate about, something that you love, you're going to be successful, right? You're going to learn everything that you can and be so good at it that you're going to rise up through the ranks. And people anymore aren't willing to do that. They're not willing to start at the bottom and work their way up. And everybody that's 22 years old anymore wants to start out as the CEO, as the director of operations or something like that. They're not willing to take a job as a $24,000 wellness director.
Right.
And I just encourage people to follow their hearts and do what they love, and everything else will fall into place then.
Right. And that's what I preach to these young bucks, man. Obviously, there's generational differences. And I mean, advice like that, that's speaking directly to you, to the entire generation. I mean, there's just find what you love to do. It's going to be out there. It seems like you're on the right track, but a lot of your peers and your relatives may not be. So,
and what's better than going to work every day doing something that you love, something that you're good at, right? And something that benefits the world.
Yeah.
Whether it's your little slice of the world, or like my oldest son, who does security for large, companies, and that might benefit a lot more people than me. But, just do something that you love.
So you briefly mentioned, you said that word retirement, but in reality, so what is next for you?
So when I had my heart attack, I started writing, and I wrote a book on leadership that was published a few years ago. It's not on the New York Times bestseller list, but it's there, and I really wanted to do it as a thing to leave behind of what my philosophy on being a good leader was about, and it's really all about unleashing people's passions, and but doing it in a way that follows, moral guidelines and ethical leadership, right? Because you have so many people work for people that are, bad bosses, and I just want to set the table for people to envision what they can be if they're a leader, and allow other people to flourish rather than, micromanaging them. Because I hate micromanaging, but so that was what the book was about. But then when I was diagnosed with cancer, I started writing poetry. I know that sounds
No.
and I love that part. I love writing poetry, and I wrote a poem about Gabby and our relationship, and it was published in a book of poetry about a year and a half ago, I think. And that was like even better than getting it published in a book. I loved the fact that I was able to write a poem and get it published. But now I'm writing a book of poetry, and I'm going to be looking around for a publisher for it. But I love the process of doing that. But I don't think that's what I'll do next. I think I'll probably do some stuff with small nonprofits where my passion really is.
I think what really sparks my interest, right, in your book that you were talking about, I think the big difference right there is you mentioned being a leader rather than a boss, right? Because there's a big difference.
There is
A huge difference. So I definitely, we'll talk afterwards, but I definitely am very infatuated with that book because I think that's beautiful to know the difference there. And I wanna basically read your elaboration on that because I think that's awesome.
I'll send you a free copy of the book. I have plenty of them.
And I'm certainly
So,
going to put a
yes.
copy of that here as well. Yeah.
But it's all about like really finding what your employees, what the people that you're working with, are passionate about, and unleashing that for them.
Right.
And allowing them to unleash that on their own. I've worked for a lot of great bosses in my life. I've worked for people that inspired me and allowed me to follow what my passions were and do the things that I'm good at. But I've also worked with people who, and we all have, right? We've all worked for bosses that micromanage you or just want you to do A, B, C, D.
Right.
And it's such a horrible experience for me. And maybe some people do flourish in an environment like that, but I can't. And
I think the big thing is anybody could be a boss, really. The difference is when you're a leader, right? You take care of those guys that, are paying attention to you or whatever the case may be, checking their welfare. It's simple things like that that really differentiate whether you're a boss or you're a leader. And I think that's beautiful too. Like the fact that
that's a great point.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But teaching people how to manage ethically too is something that is not like a widespread thing in our world any longer. And when you get to work for somebody who has good morals and good ethics, it gives you a freedom to be that way.
Yeah.
And it allows you to feel good about your work. And the people that I've worked for in my past that have allowed me to behave that way, just inspire me to lead my people that way. So.
And you're going to come across a lot of leaders. He's currently active duty in the Army. So, but you're also at the time frame throughout your career where you're going to become a leader. So it's unique for you because you're gathering and absorbing all of this advice.
Yeah.
And you've been a host on this podcast several times. So you kind of get the front row seat to this information and to this knowledge. So it's pretty cool seeing that how you're absorbing everything.
Yeah. I mean, even now too, like I sit here and I lead a bunch of guys doing everything, As a leader, I have to teach. I have to make sure these guys are okay. I have to make sure, they're qualified to do everything that I need them to do, right? They're educated on it. And it's all that stuff. So I love hearing that. And I love the lesson given,
Yeah.
One thing that Hal has adapted to very well is with social media. He spreads his message on social media. You're very good at that. And you're all about your team too. Like I just love seeing it. And so looking from the outside in, it's like, wow, like what a great team that they have over there at the Humane Society.
They really do. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it easy for you to evolve into social media? I mean,
No, I'm old, I mean, I'm 61 years old, so I still think there's a learning curve for me. Yeah, but fortunately, I have people at work, that are a lot younger, they're your age, that are savvy in that world. So, a lot of times I'll scream, Madison, and she'll come down and what do you need now? And I'll ask her, how do I minimize this?
but you just continuously adapt and all of
Yeah.
these challenges, man, you're doing it. Hal, I'm such a big fan of yours.
Thank you. Yeah.
Love seeing what you're doing out there. Love the passion you have for animals. Love seeing your fitness journey, and man, do I love seeing you in the gym. It's just
The gym that we go to is a great community, and I have to mention is the Fitness Plaza here
Yeah.
in Fogelsville. They do a great job of supporting people, the community that's there. They look out for each other. It's a very respectful gym, and I really love going there. Plus, they have great equipment.
yes, I'm exactly what you said. Well said. Same exact feelings with that place. It's a very good
and the
place.
great thing about it, is when you don't go.
Yeah.
There's always somebody there, to ask you where you've been,
Yeah.
or tell you that they've missed seeing you. I remember coming back from my heart attack, and I think I was doing something with some 10-pound dumbbells, maybe doing some lateral raises, and somebody, may have been Rob, that came up to me and said, "Are you going heavy today?" So it was all in jest, but
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was showing there how much he cared, to come over and make sure I was okay, and
Yeah.
I love being there and I love going there. So there's nothing better than doing it first thing in the morning. So
100%. Well, Hal, I'm grateful that you sat down with us today.
no, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
It's something I've wanted to do for quite some time, but unfortunately, life, and challenges have given us a few obstacles. But it's great to see you, man. Again, great to have you sit down with us, Blaine. I'm sure you took a lot from this as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. Thank you very
And
much.
I think Gabby's ready to go. At this
Gabby's
point.
ready to
She's
go.
telling me something.
Yeah.
You ready to go home, girl?
So with that being said, to our viewers, guys, thank you so much. There's a lot of information here. We're going to post a lot of information here. Get out there and engage with your local humane societies. These animals deserve a shot. What I say is, we only spend half of our lives loving these animals, but these animals spend their entire life loving us.
That's a great way to say it.
With that being said, thank you for watching. See you next time. Ricky Wednesdays. Checking out.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good boy. Hey everybody, I'm Hal Warner. I'm the CEO of the Lehigh Valley Humane Society, and I'm here with Bear today. He's a 2 to 3 year old pit mix. He's a great little boy, and he loves to run around and play, and as you can see, he does